in the last few days of scrolling Instagram, you haven't seen Bieberella.
Oh, that's what we're calling it now?
That's what they're calling it. I don't participate in the Coachella vibe, mostly because I can't imagine being at a festival for so many days. I'm not what you would
I
call
know.
a festival girly. I broke my tailbone. It was a bad night.
I think right now you have a limited amount of patience for people, and there's like a lot of stinky people. It's possible.
It's the showering for me. Like I see people doing the car camping and I give them so much credit because I could never
I,
ever.
you know about the time that I accidentally sent myself backpacking for 3 weeks.
You sent yourself to like I forget what those camps are called for wayward children.
I know. Well, like I didn't know that's what it was. I thought I was
You
just
told your parents I really want to go do this.
it was my friend's idea,
You
first of all.
sent yourself to reform school camp.
But I thought I was like just going like hiking, surfing, boating, like sailing in Hawaii. And it it was not that. I
You
had
were
a
in
gun
Hawaii.
and like a 50-pound pack on my back to hike like 15 miles a day. And I had pitched a tent every night to sleep in. It was atrocious, but you know, what can you do?
Yeah. I quit Girl Scouts the year that we did like the big Girl Scout camp out and we were still in cabins because I was still like a brownie. And they said, next year you girls are in the tents. And when my mom picked me up from camp, I said, I'm never sleeping in that tent. I quit.
Do you have my favorite thing about
What?
just not go camping?
Yeah, I know. I don't do camping. I don't actually think I do glamping.
Yeah,
I just think I don't do either.
I know.
I like hotels. I like plumbing.
I like plumbing.
Yeah, you can't take someone who showers 3 times a day and bring them to a festival. It doesn't work.
Let's be honest. Call it what it is.
I might.
You know,
You don't know me.
I have to know you very well.
Maybe.
Give me a look. I know that look too.
I'm just saying it could happen. You never know.
Okay. So we're gonna do this damn thing?
Let's do this. Welcome to Write That Down. We are here to talk about the many joys, trials, and tribulations of living with people, be it friends, romantic partners, strangers, because apparently people still do find roommates on Craigslist. I didn't actually believe that until one of my friends reminded me that that's how her sister found all of her roommates. I want to remind everyone that Craigslist is the website that has not changed since its inception. It still looks like it's from the 90s. Zero background checks.
Very rudimentary interface as well. So,
So we're here to talk about how 2/3 of Americans rent. They have roommates. They are sharing homes with partners. They are co-owning property. Less than 15% of them have anything in writing. I'm Hillary. I'm an attorney, a swim coach, a contract guru, and someone who chooses to live by herself, and someone who has seen a lot of things that have come up when people live with each other. So many things. I chose to just not do it and to live by myself. And I'm here with Alexa, my co-host and my co-founder.
Hi, I'm Alexa, and I'm an e-commerce exec and the girl who called Hillary when the vibes, not agreements, went from playing house to GTFO.
This is Write That Down. So we have a lot of things that you should write down.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. So I think the biggest thing that we saw when we started talking about people living together and the different situations and scenarios is that we sign contracts every day. You download an app up at the App Store, you're signing a contract. Instagram, same thing. You're signing employment contracts and you're signing 40-page leases that you're probably not really reading. And I know that because people always come to me and are like, isn't my landlord required to do this? And I'm like, what does your lease say? And they always tell me, oh, I don't even know where that is. You should find it and we should look at that together. So we sign agreements every day for the most important things to the most mundane things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to living with people, for some reason, putting anything down in writing makes it, and I'm putting this in quotes, weird. Which as a lawyer, like I'll never understand because I want everything in writing unless I want nothing in writing. And there are definitely times where I don't want anything in writing.
Yeah. So I think, I'm kind of always comfortable being the squeaky wheel, and I kind of always bring up the things that I have questions about, or, that I could foresee being an issue in the future, even if they're not right now. I know a lot of people are not comfortable doing that, and that's just more something that's part of my personality from, business and what I do, and I always kind of joke I'm a squeaky wheel, but I think it's definitely harder sometimes to do that in my personal life. But I think for most people, I think it rings very true that the closer you are to someone, the less structure you sometimes feel like you need, or protection, or guidelines, things like that. But that's sometimes when you do
Need it the
sometimes
most.
need it most, especially when you're in such a great place and you've got something really exciting, ahead of you, right?
Yeah. I think to your point, people confuse trust with clarity sometimes when they know somebody.
Yeah.
Or even when they're just thinking, oh, we're going to live together. Everything's going to be fine. We have a good vibe. Everything sounds great. They have great references. Okay, but trust and clarity are not the same thing. You can trust that your roommate is not going, I live in New York City, so I can trust that a roommate I have is not going to meet someone on the B train who needs a place to stay and offer up our couch for 2 weeks. I can trust
Sure.
that 99.99% of the time that is not going to happen. So that's sort of our origin story. You got this.
Yeah, I was living with a long-term partner during COVID. And I think we both knew that if we were going to give that relationship a fair chance, someone was going to have to move, right? And that would be me because he had a business and a lot of employees, things like that. So we both kind of took the plunge. And after about, 6 or so months of dating, during COVID, you couldn't just hop on a plane. And we were both really busy, and you can't just keep making
Driving back and forth.
a 6-hour drive every week or so to be with each other there, here. Yeah. So, um, yeah, so that's how that happened. And I really hadn't thought much about how I was protecting myself. That really wasn't where I came from. But I had asked at some point to update, like her registration, voting registration, all those things. I was like, well, I moved to his home. Um, and, I wasn't like paying rent. I contributed in my own ways. And I really just needed something to show that I was living there, right? And I had an updated address. And so I'd asked for some kind of agreement showing that I'd lived there because I didn't have utilities or anything in my name. So he goes to a site, one of those really large companies that have, you know,
Boilerplate.
legal templates, right? What's that?
Boilerplate.
Yeah,
They're
boilerplate,
just templates.
which really more so resembled what you would give someone that was renting out your entire home rather than
Mm-hmm.
residing with you in your home, or cohabitating with you
Mm-hmm.
in a mutually respectful and loving way. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
it, and as the product of two attorneys, one turned doctor, I knew never to sign something that I had not read or did not understand. So I redlined it. Something I respected about him was that he was, very effective in business, but at the same time, I also knew him to be litigious, right? So I knew I had better redline anything that one day could possibly, not work in my favor necessarily. Like it said I was responsible for snow removal. I just, things like that. And buying pizzas once a month. And I would, COVID, however many, 15. I figured, no, um, I'm not enabling this. I actually was like, listen, we need some gym equipment. So, um, you know, when push came to shove and that relationship did not end up working out after living there for over a year or whatever, um, I remember I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I had some kind of rights. I knew that wasn't right, that it was like, okay, this isn't working out. Goodbye today. Goodbye.
Now.
Like this. It was the middle of, the work week. It was the beginning of the work week. You can't just completely be unprofessional, drop everything and say, sorry, I have to go move my whole life and my dog and all these things. And where am I going to find movers? And that, I mean, I have meetings all day.
Mm-hmm.
So I remembered I met this girl at a friend's wedding and we became pretty close. We bonded over true crime,
Crime.
true crime, and all kinds of things. Um, really high profile, court cases, that we found interesting, politics, all kinds of fun things.
Mm-hmm. Or
And
I do have the perfect crime, which if we're following the news in the Bahamas, it's not such a perfect crime, Alexa.
oh, it was the worst crime. I know. We're like, okay, she's in the water. We know you know.
We know you know what you did.
Got it. Um, so yeah, I remembered my friend Hillary and the fact that she was this amazing contract attorney in New York and knew that, was New York, not the state that I was living in. But I knew if she didn't know the exact law of the land where I was, she would know how to get the answers.
Hmm.
And it really got someone thinking, didn't it?
It did. So when you called me, I just remember I was sitting at my desk and I was in the middle of a work day and I had to look at my phone and think to myself, is this for real right now? It's at like a Tuesday and he wants her out by end of day. It's 3 o'clock. I couldn't get a fixed email out by end of day at this point.
Yeah.
So once I got past my disbelief over the situation, I told Alexa, I was like, let me look up what's going on in the state you're in. It was very similar to New York because most common law states, there's similarities. And I was like, okay, he can't just throw you out. This is your residence. If this is where your address is on your license, if this is where you're filing taxes from, if this is where you're registered to vote, this is your address of record. So he can certainly evict you.
Combination of those elements and
Yes, there were things.
things.
And I said he can't just toss you out. He has to actually start like a formal eviction proceeding.
If he
Which
didn't
is
want to be reasonable and
right.
I did not want to stay. I wanted a
We
reasonable.
wanted out and we wanted to get you out, but we needed at least until the weekend to do that. So that's kind of what I presented to you. You can
Yeah.
tell him, listen, you can either start eviction proceedings and I'll be out in 6 months and the marshals are going to get involved, or you
No,
can give me until this weekend and I'll be out by Sunday.
right. Like, let's be reasonable adults.
Like, we're adults, we can be reasonable about this. And
Well,
then I'll never forget that I did ask you, your parents are both attorneys. How are you living there with nothing in
I
writing?
had asked, and the problem was, let's remember, I had asked for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And redlined it, passed it back. And let's not forget that he went to law school, passed the bar, I guess didn't work as an attorney, and still chose the boilerplate template website route. But, I had redlined it and never really received anything back that was mutually agreed upon.
Right. So the intention was there, but, and this is what I explained to you then.
Yeah,
If you haven't both signed that document, it's great that you had the best of intentions,
right.
but it really doesn't matter.
No.
So we get Alexa moved out. Several of her friends came down and helped her pack everything up and got
Friend.
her back
Everyone
to her
should
home
have friends
state.
like mine.
And
10
you
hours
definitely
notice.
always want those kind of friends in your corner. And then I called you a week or two later and I said, hey, is it cool if I use like your story as the basis for just quick, like, know your rights website where people can just log on and see, like, you can't just throw me out of my home.
Well, and
Um,
at the height of like squatters, things like that too. It goes both ways.
Squatters, it was
During
the
COVID.
height of people buying property together and moving in together because leases were ending and people weren't working. And it just
And
made
money was
so much
free.
sense. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what made us, I would say, self-proclaimed experts in shared housing. Because once we then took my idea and Alexa was like, no, we should start a business because we are not the only people dealing with these situations. We started doing research and a lot of research. And we talked to our friends and family members and strangers that I heard at Whole Foods were having roommate disputes at school because I wanted to know, like, what's the problem? Oh, your roommate just leaves dishes in the sink at all times and never does anything. Cool, cool. You could actually like have an agreement where there's something that says that there's like a chore chart.
Or
Not to sound like your mom, but like you could do that.
you also could agree, maybe you're not, college aged and, you can afford it. You can afford to live alone. You're not ready for that step with a partner. But, you know, you could agree to have a professional come in on a certain cadence
Mhm.
and share the cost, or it's offset because someone makes more and someone makes less, and that's a way that they can contribute to the
Right.
house.
And the more that we've researched and read stories and talked to people, you sort of see the patterns emerge with shared living. It's usually something like one person is paying more and they're kind of resenting it a little bit because this other person is just sort of, in their mind, freeloading it a bit. And then there's the people that I want to leave, like this is not working for me anymore, but my lease is 2 more years and I live with my partner or I live with this roommate. It's not like I can just go. I'm locked into this. Um,
A lot of people that do, on one hand, feel vulnerable, right?
yeah.
Like there's that power dynamic of one person might be paying more and really kind of taking that responsibility on. The other person could then really kind of feel like I'm not on like solid footing, as though like I'm left vulnerable. And
I'm
that's
just
what
here
they're
and it's
for.
not their whim. And then, the big one that we see a lot at our age and in our late 20s, people live together, they break up, who's keeping what? You bought everything together.
Right. And can
And
you
who has to leave?
leave on their own? Can you? Or do you both have to leave? And how are you going to share the financial penalty of that?
Yeah. So And we always have those stories of like the friends that no longer speak to each other because of a mix up about utilities because one roommate wanted it to be a lizard terrarium and the other roommate likes it at like a cool 55 degrees.
Or you've
Which, if
got
you can get away with that in New York City, please let me know how you're doing it because I'd love to find out.
or you've got the friend whose significant other weighs in and you're like, yeah,
Where'd you come
you can't
from?
live here.
You can't sit with us.
And put pants on.
So, the main theme through all of it was none of these situations, except maybe the breakups, start out dramatic. They become dramatic because nothing's ever defined.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, when you're in the thick of it, of figuring it out, that's not the time to be figuring out anything.
No.
No, because you're in it and now everyone's sort of on the defense. So no one's listening. It's just who can be louder, who can say more, who can wear the other person down. And then one person wins, great. But now it's very awkward in your own home because the other person's just resentful that they had to give in. And nothing was really solved. You got your way, but we're adults and getting your way does not always it's not always the best case.
Right.
So I think what we hear a lot of is, well, we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about what we were going to do when your dog chewed my heels because I left them in the common room.
Right. Right. The vet bill or the shoes. It like
Right. It's like,
when my dog.
it's my dog. Like, if you left something in the family room that the dog got into and now I have to take the dog to the vet, who's responsible for that?
And whatever the thing is. Yeah, I mean,
Whatever the thing is.
right.
So, and of course you didn't talk about it. No one tells you this is something that's part of adulthood. There's not a magic course in college, at least not when I went, that was like, this is how you figure out living together. It was kind of, this is your freshman roommate. We made you guys take a personality test, but we didn't actually look at it. Hope you all get along.
I don't think we did that even.
So you either get really lucky or you grin and bear it. But there's a way to make it so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we come in. So that's the part that we actually care the most about is making living together, owning property together easier. So, and I'm going to be very clear when I say this because I've had so many discussions about cohabitation agreements and prenuptial agreements. To be clear, we don't handle those. I'm looking for that. We know great people for it. But cohabitation agreements, it's not about expecting the worst. It never is.
No.
About protecting the best part of whatever relationship you have. That's
Yeah.
really all it is.
It's protecting it and coming up with shared guidelines
Right.
while you're still really excited about, this next chapter.
Exactly. It's once the expectations are clear about what is going to happen in your home, you don't have to think about negotiating them mid conflict.
Right. Worst time to do it. People think it's more of a, I would like to set boundaries and rules because I was unhappy that this situation occurred, when really it's, I would like to prevent conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
situations. Let's get on the same page first while we're in a really good place. And you know that
Yeah.
I'm having this conversation um, from from a place of goodwill and excitement and a shared expectation of mutual respect and excitement.
Right. And it's not just for a romantic partnership. Although if it is one, what I hear most often, even when I was in the midst of negotiating my own prenup, what I would hear was, well, it's unromantic. You're taking the romance out of it. I'm an attorney, so of course I'm not going to think that way. Protecting myself, protecting others is always going to be sort of at the forefront of my mind. I'm really big on risk mitigation.
I know.
But
Love it. Your insurance has insurance. I made that joke one day and you were like, no, I love an umbrella plan.
I love an umbrella policy. My insurance broker and I are like this. We talk all the time. My former insurance broker who retired, I have his phone number and address. He lives about 20 minutes from my new house. Super excited. So, what
Hillary.
I will say is this isn't just for a romantic partnership. This is for roommates, this is for friends, this is for siblings. During COVID, we saw a lot of people buying property together. And what was happening was that one person would feel like they were doing more of the work on the property, or one person would feel like their brother or sister was using it more than them. And it would become this thing where, well, I'm withholding my portion of the mortgage payment then. Let me be very clear. Your landlord, your property management company, JP Morgan, they don't care if you're having a fight with your friend, your roommate, your significant other, or your co-owner. They want to know where their money is.
Yeah.
They want their payment, and they want it in full. They don't want to hear from Susie Q, well, my brother is upset with me, so he's withholding his half, but here's my half.
Yes.
Half of a mortgage still leads to a foreclosure. I want to be very clear on that. Like, they
Yes.
will still take it back.
They will still kick you out if you pay half your rent.
So, in all of these situations, what I think is actually unromantic or uncomfortable or exhausting is arguing about the money, the space, the responsibility when you're already in it. Like, we're already living in it. To like have that sort of anxiety and pressure, it when it's not when it's preventable, let's just avoid it, guys.
Yeah. You know, I
Let's
think,
just talk it out from the beginning.
yeah. One of the things I think that really used to grind my gears was,
Mind your gears.
grind my gears, was parking, right? And I
Oh,
think,
did that put a bee in your bonnet?
well, yeah, exactly. Really used to ruffle my knickers. Um, Thought you'd like that one. Um, okay, you can appreciate this because you live in New York City.
I
Okay.
do.
So, let's say your place has one parking spot and you have a roommate and you both have cars. Wouldn't it be great if ahead of time, you both got on the same page and said, we're going to let so and so have the parking space? Because let's say Hillary works from home. Hillary doesn't need her car every day, but the person that commutes every day, right?
Needs their car.
Right. And when they're coming home and it's like rush hour, there's a ton of traffic, and you're asking them to park far away and then,
Yeah. There's like the perfect situation right now. So I have a somewhat unconventional living situation at the moment. I got married a few months ago. We both owned our own places. So it was kind of we know we're going to buy a house. We're not going to go rent an apartment. So we got married, we bought a house, we have to do renovations. So for the time being, we are still in our respective apartments and we just sort of shuttle back and forth. And I have parking at my building, and so does my husband. But street parking at his building is very easy. If I get there early enough on a Friday, I can usually get parking no problem. Because I'm in Manhattan, street parking by me is a little bit more difficult. And I do work from home.
I know about the street parking by you.
Yes, Alexa did have a struggle street parking by me, and we thought we found her a spot until I looked up at the sign and it was like no parking.
After a long search.
But what we'll do is on a Friday, if I know, like when I know he's coming in, I will, because I have parking in my building, I will move my car to the street parking because at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not difficult for me to get a parking spot. When he comes in at 6:30, it's very difficult for him to get parking. So that's kind of we either switch and I make him park on the street. It really depends on my vibe. But
Your feeling about it.
how I'm feeling about it. But usually I'll just be like, oh my God, just throw your car in my spot. That way, if we have to go anywhere this week, we can just take your car. Like, I don't have to think about parking. But that is a very big thing in a lot of urban settings where there is parking. It usually is only the one spot.
Right.
Like for my building, it doesn't matter how many units you have or how many drivers you have. Each family gets one spot.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. In some buildings you can buy an extra spot. Others you cannot.
Do you know how much spots are going for in New York City right now?
Tell everyone that doesn't know.
Um, Recently, a new building went up on 95th and it has a parking garage and they were selling spots. So not renting them out. You didn't pay per month. You just paid for the spot. $350,000 was the starting.
More than homes in
More
other.
than homes in some parts of this country, yes.
Yeah.
And you had to own in the building to buy the spot.
So,
So parking people, it's
right.
a big deal. You should probably write something down about it.
I think you should write that down. You find a spot
So
that is not 350K. Consider it a deal, and
consider it a steal.
consider it a steal, and maybe consider renting it out if you buy it. Maybe invest in spots.
You'd have to have a lot of spots and rent them out for over a decade.
Okay, didn't say that people should.
I'm just saying, if that's a business plan you like,
Yeah.
you need to do what the garages do. You start with a base price, you tack on for luxury, you tack on for SUV. I will tell you right now, they
And
will
then the
consider my
renting it.
car,
The
which is a
renting it.
coupe crossover, an SUV. They consider it an oversized, and I argue with them every time about it to the point where I'll pull it up on the dealer's website and be like, absolutely not is this model an oversized SUV. It's not even on their SUV page.
Bet you do. I really,
I
next
do.
time I visit you, I would really like to see that.
I usually get my way.
And then I usually just go,
Oh, you're not that sorry. You like it.
I do. A little bit.
You like making me watch other people's days become difficult.
I know, but then, when you're being bad cop, I can just go,
Yeah, because you're the nice one. So that's really where we sort of came up with the idea of closet, making these kinds of agreements simple, accessible, tailored to real life, not to snow removal and how many pizzas you have to buy each week.
that are hopefully being offset by the elliptical that I did not even have time to get a mover to move for me. So I had to leave it there. Just saying. I really hope it is doing its job. Thought that means it.
I'm just saying it's probably not I met your significant other.
A former significant other.
I'm sorry, I met your former significant other. I'm going to go with probably not.
You can hope.
But, and I want to be very clear with everyone, we're not trying to make this overly legal. I'm not trying to turn all of you guys into like little contract monkeys overnight.
No?
No, that's not my goal here.
No.
We just want you to have clear expectations so that you can actually enjoy where you live. So it feels like this safe space where you can come home and just and relax and not immediately launch into an argument about why you didn't clean the bathroom this week, even though it was your job, because we talked about it. Well, we didn't write it down, so that's not really my problem.
So I think we said that if I think it's what 8 questions or less is base that includes
Hmm.
confirming like address and your name and things like that.
Yeah.
And baseline protection and no aligned upon agreement. But you can add on and customize it, tailor it to things that are actually applicable to your living situation. Like you don't want to like maybe come home to a dog one day or a cat, something surprise. Um,
Yeah. You definitely want to have something in there about that. I came home to a feral cat one day. It was
I,
unpleasant.
I came home to 3 and then I ended up loving them. And I'm really in a way.
Mine was a street cat. We did not end up loving it. It did not end up loving us. Most importantly,
They,
it was
oh,
most unhappy.
well, well. Anyway.
but
You can't win them all.
no, you can't.
Not everyone gets,
Not everyone gets the three adorable kittens. Some of you get the streetwise cat that's like, get me out of here with these girls.
yeah. Yeah.
So you can add on. And if you're not sure what you need to add on, I suggest you just keep listening to us because we're going to go through everything. We're going to talk about why you need insurance, why you need more insurance,
Why your insurance needs insurance.
why knowing your roommate's dietary restrictions is actually could be life or death because there are some people that if something gets into the air, it can trigger an allergic reaction. And if you don't know that before they live with you and you're frying up eggplant and they're allergic to eggplant, well, enjoy your trip to the ER because unless you're an actual menace to society, you're going to be guilted into going to the ER with your roommate.
And like you should.
And
But
you should just be a good person.
where do they keep their EpiPen? You should know.
You should know. My husband doesn't know, but that's because it's always in my bag.
I mean, you're a good wife like that.
Well, I've seen him almost
Good
eat his
wife like
best
that.
more than once. And if you take one thing away from today, just it doesn't matter if it's love, friendship, Craigslist convenience. Living together is a shared financial and logistical decision. Pretending it's not, that's where you're going to get yourself into trouble.
So here's the takeaway. It's not about who you live with, it's about how you live together.
And we're here to help you with that.
This is, write that down. Next episode, we're getting into the actual mechanics of living together and the agreements that make it work, no matter who's on the other side of the door.